think that when I was young, I went really hard at the arts. I was acting, I was singing, I was dancing, all the way to when I was 15. I broke my knee in an accident, and I was told I wouldn't walk again without limping. It was a dance accident.
Oh my gosh.
And I'd wanted to be a musical theater major before that. And so very quickly, my reality was changed, and I was told that this wasn't going to be a reality for me anymore. And I had to do about 8 hours of therapy a day to be able to get back to running and walking.
Wow, just as a 15-year-old.
As a 15-year-old. And it was my first time. I was actually like a really soft kid until then. And I didn't know what pain was. I didn't know what persevering was. I was in all kinds of sports, but I had never really like worked hard for something. And when I broke my knee when I was 15, this is the first time when I had to kind of face some of my largest fears and really use my mind to get to a place where I would understand A, how to pivot, and B, to overcome something that was that physically debilitating. So after I was done recovering, I did go back to dance, and I was acting and singing in all our plays and stuff.
And I want to stop you. So you actually were able to heal that injury.
Yeah. I spent, again, 6 to 8 hours, and I took a pass-fail for my freshman year of high school, and they just put me into intense therapy. And my mom is a Reiki healer. She did a lot of Reiki on me. And
your mom was a Reiki healer even back then in the day? Okay, so you've been exposed to wellness.
Yeah.
And non-traditional ways of healing.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you probably over the course of this podcast, I've had 3 now times in my life where I've been given the equivalent of like either a diagnosis or a stop sign where someone has said like, oh, there's no way you're coming back from this, or this is something we don't understand, or you're going to have to start all over again. And each time I ended up losing some of my fear around success and these societal ideas of success that were given to me. And it was in going through those that I actually finally found my freedom and ended up being able to chase and pursue what I really wanted and live the life that I really wanted. And the first is this knee break.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I Russian roulette my college applications. I had no idea what I wanted to do after that because I was still living in the Midwest. And in the Midwest, I now know as an adult, a lot of our plays were typecasts. Like we literally did Fiddler in the Roof, and the second daughter was a white redhead.
Yep.
Like it was.
What part did you play?
So I always would get the dance understudy. So it was like the understudy to one of the leads. And I thought that it was because I wasn't good enough. Retrospectively, I think a lot of politics played a part. But without knowing that and growing up in the Midwest, my parents were always, and still to this day, are very supportive of they always taught us we could do anything and exposed us very early on to a lot of the ways that you and I live our life now, so that there was this understanding that there was something more.
Wow, to have that support.
Oh, yeah.
So you weren't getting have to be a doctor, dentist, lawyer, engineer.
Well, it's funny because our parents and our loved ones and our teachers, they're all just doing the best they can too. Mm-hmm. So they always instilled in us this idea that you can do anything you'd like, but they too were products of society. I'm a first generation American. They were immigrants. They came here they gave up a lot of comforts in India and came here and started over and made their way all the way back up society. They went to IIT. For those of you guys who don't know, it's like a very renowned engineering college out of India, and they were top of their class. And, they were the ones who made it. So they always said you can do anything you want, but they also, were very fearful as was inset in them for their children in a new society. And it was, have a backup plan, make sure that you also get the career, make sure you can also stand on your own 2 feet. So it was kind of a dual message, which actually was quite confusing as a child, but they were doing their best to try to protect us. So anyway, I ended up in business school because they paid me more money to go to business school. So they paid me full scholarship. They gave me money in my pocket every quarter.
Oh, wow.
I went to something called the Honors Plus Business School. It's a program that's funded by the Carl H. Lindner, who he owns UDF and Chiquita and a bunch of different companies like AC Nielsen and Procter and Gamble and Chiquita.
Yep.
And 25 kids, full scholarship. They send us around the world to learn with the best companies. And everyone who I went to that program with were valedictorian and salutatorian.
Oh,
So
my goodness.
at 18, I was put in a very competitive environment.
Sure.
And at the end of the first year, you know, I had an internship that was coveted. I had done really well. I was involved in all the different organizations. I was thriving.
And you were living your best life.
I was thriving
Career-wise.
as a business student. And the problem with an 18-year-old winning is that once you're winning, it's very hard to remind yourself why you started. So I ended up doing 4 years of a 5-year program. The 5th year, I took all my credit hours in one quarter and got out of there because I woke up the fifth year at this program. It was a 5-year program. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? This has nothing to do with anything I wanted to do in life.
Oh, wow. What were the moments that preceded that? Like what I like to call this kind of like falling. And, you know, there's a framework that I talk about in my book. It's how to, like, the fly forward method. But the first stage is that falling, when you have this realization or this wake up call or this initiation of like, oh shit.
Yeah. You know, I think I was just in my final year or about to start my final year, my 5th year of school. And I like had this feeling that I was losing time. I'd worked at Saatchi & Saatchi first as an intern, then as a first year co-op, right while I was still in college. I'd been living in New York. I had done the things, and I still had this burning desire to tell stories. And I had picked Saatchi because it was storytelling for brands. Oh. And so I had thought that it was going to be close enough to what my previous dream had been that it would satiate me. And when I got to Saatchi, I learned one of the most important lessons that sticks to me in business today as a creative. And that was, I was on the advertising side of strategic planning and account management for the campaigns for major brands like Tylenol and Reynolds Foil and Yoplait Yogurt and General Mills.
Oh, wow.
And what I was learning in my first 2 years there was that even though we would come up with these great creative ideas and all these beautiful like ideation of the future of a brand with the teams I was on, at the end of the day, we would sit in a meeting with the heads of that brand who were a job I could have opted into back home in Cincinnati. And then they would tell us, oh, those are really nice ideas. And here's what we're going to do. And the difference was they were the money.
Yep.
And so one of my aha moments early in my career as an artist was experiencing this type of environment and realizing that even though I was now the artist in this ecosystem, advertising, I had no creative control.
They had all the money.
And that's something that would stick with me and would define my career later on.
Wow.
So yeah, I would say you asked what the moment was. It was just this feeling in my senior year of, oh my God, this is not what I want to do with my life. And then this like feverish, I have to start at least finding out how to get there.
See you next time at the Brave Table.